Hey everyone, so here's a new post from Reddit from the Recruiting Hell subreddit. All right, so this one's pretty crazy. It's got to do with Glassdoor and apparently removing negative reviews. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of opinions about this, and we're gonna get into it. So, all right, the subject line is Glassdoor removed all negative reviews from a former employer and banned me from their site after they started posting their jobs there. Okay, so it's like seems like a classic like employer silencing the previous employee, or let alone people like interviewing there. They don't want to get negative feedback. Yeah, so I mean, we'll get into it. The post starts with, for anyone wondering how accurate Glassdoor is, here's my experience. I worked with the company in 2020, and it was the one of the worst that I worked with. While there were some nice people, its management should have had a biohazard warning that they were that toxic. So, yeah, this sounds pretty bad already, right? So, they would openly bully people in the middle of the office floor. Okay, so it's like a company run by like what old high school bullies or something like that. Okay, um, they made a remark about someone not being man enough after trying to take a sick day to deal with depression. They turned a blind eye to open cocaine use from on part of the sales team who came into the office after a full night of partying and no sleep, and the list goes on. Just from that description alone, it sounds like the first kind of company that comes to my head is like a sales or some kind of like possibly like a staffing agency, more maybe like blue collar or something like that. But it sounds like sales. This sounds like this type of stuff that sales people would say. That's just me throwing that out there. But anyway, I lasted about 9 months before telling them to go screw themselves after a director tried to give me a formal warning for not billing for a 4 week period. That 4 week period was me having surgery, but it wasn't a good enough excuse for them. Yeah, so it seems like, yeah, they don't like it when you take time off. They think that you're weak or you're not man enough, like this example said, or to try to shame you into like overworking. But anyways, so as far as Glassdoor goes, here we go. So anyway, I left a review in 2020 and moved on with my life. I would always keep an eye on the reviews as other people joined and find out about how bad the company was. At one point, their score was 1.6 out of 5. Like, is this a small company? Like, because of course, like if you get a company like Amazon or something like that, for example, you know, Amazon has a notorious reputation for being like a bad workplace, very cutthroat, very hardcore, and too much hardcore, you know, to the point where it's a big stigma that everybody knows that like Amazon, oh yeah, they're hardcore, you know, you don't want to work there. But if you post reviews on Glassdoor about Amazon, like no one really cares, right? They're too big, and you know, it would just be like a grain of sand in a beach. You know what I mean? But it sounds like this is kind of like a small company to where they actually take their reviews pretty seriously because they don't have that many employees. They want to get more employees, and they want future prospective employees to have a good impression of them, right? So looks like this person is keeping an eye on the reviews, you know, after years of not working there. So I don't blame him. I don't blame you. You know, it's sometimes you get a little bit obsessive about these things, and it's kind of like you want to be the one to warn people in the future about how this company is, and I think it's good. I think it's good due diligence. I mean, like you kind of want to be that person to warn people, because like, you know, that's what Glassdoor is for, right? Like if you don't write reviews on Glassdoor, how is anybody going to know what it's like to work there? So continuing on with the post, however, around summer of last year, their score shot up to 4 out of 5, and I noticed that my review was gone. Conveniently, the company had just started posting their jobs on Glassdoor and obviously bringing in some nice revenue for Glassdoor. Okay, well, I worked with a company in between, and last year moved again to a new company again and actually enjoyed this company. So I left a review but noticed it wasn't showing up. I looked at all my previous reviews, totaling about 6, including salary reports, and everything was removed. Okay, so like, okay, yeah, it must have wrote a bad review. And I mean, I could talk about my opinions. Like I wrote Glassdoor reviews before, and only recently, like here in June of 2025, I've noticed that on a Glassdoor page of a company, there is like a gray like banner so in the middle of it that says like, oh, we respect the person's right to write a review, therefore Glassdoor cannot remove reviews, or companies that you're reviewing cannot remove the reviews. Okay, but nothing surprises me anymore these days, right? So I contacted support, and after waiting a few days was told my account was suspended for breaking their service terms and posting multiple reviews of the same company in a year. At the same time, I don't blame you posting multiple reviews of the same company. But okay, I mean, if they suspend you over that, this seems kind of weird. Unless you're like actually spamming them, like writing a review every day or something like that, I don't see why that would be a problem. I showed them my contribution history that showed an 18-month gap between each contribution. Yeah, I mean, like you're not like posting every day and just review bombing them. It's not like Google reviews, right? So, and even submitted a GDPR request which showed the same info. Queried why I was banned again, showing I never broke terms and conditions, and Glassdoor ignored my emails. Short version, Glassdoor removes and bans contributions from people who post negative reviews of companies who advertise with them. Okay, then some of the comments say like this is about Glassdoor protecting its revenue streams. I personally am not too knowledgeable about that. I don't know why it would make sense for Glassdoor to do that. Personally, I would think it makes more sense that it's just the companies themselves that are removing the reviews themselves, even though, yes, Glassdoor insists that you can't do that, companies can't do that. But honestly, nothing surprises me anymore, right? So obviously, if you write a review that is way too out of line, like you're cursing in there, you're saying like maybe even something like racist or sexist or something like that, it wouldn't even post. Therefore, the company wouldn't even look at it. It wouldn't even post and be published, right? But if you write a review and it gets through the initial review, Glassdoor review of like whether your review is in line or not, and then it disappears, then yeah, I definitely would raise an eyebrow. I personally have no idea. I don't have a company. I'm not running a company. I don't know what it's like on the employer's end of their point of view of managing their Glassdoor profile. But yeah, at the same time, nothing surprises me, right? Glassdoor insists that you can't remove the reviews, but especially this sounds like a small company, right? So they're going to be extra sensitive and extra fickle about like who reviews their company, whether it's like interviews or former employees. So yeah, it sounds like a small company, right? It sounds like a small company that doesn't want their reputation ruined, and then as soon as they want to start actually recruiting and hiring new people, they don't want to have their negative reviews up. And this is just a lesson that I've been saying, is that like, especially now, this post was a year old, not that old, right? Posted sometime in 2024, where the job market was just as bad as it is today. I would say it's even worse today, but that's another story. It's just a lesson, like people, no matter how desperate you are and like how tough the job market is, like you shouldn't really take disrespect from these employers, right? If you write a review and then the company can't handle the feedback and they don't like the criticism, it's like you don't want to work there in the first place. I mean, obviously this is just obvious knowledge, right? But yeah, like if you're running a company, especially a small company, you're trying to recruit people, yeah, like work on giving a good candidate experience, right? Not just candidate experience, but employee experience, because it's gonna come around to like bite you later. It's one thing like if you're gonna run a company, like it comes with a specific level of responsibility, right? You're potentially gonna be in charge of people's livelihoods. The people that sit in the interviewee's chair, they're like banking on this job. They might be like have everything on the line, like kids, family, a sick parent or a sick sibling, something, right? And that's what I'm saying, like all those things should be taken so seriously, as if like it's life or death. And one thing that I will always say is that like it's not hard to do. Like it doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't have to spend more money out of the company's budget to have a better human experience for the employees and prospective employees during interviews. Like it doesn't cost anything, it just takes a little bit of like practice, some emotional intelligence, and it could really only do you favors for the company. So Glassdoor removing reviews, I don't know if it's Glassdoor themselves. It might be like a company complaining to Glassdoor saying like, oh, remove this review. Or like, honestly, if you just Google it, like you could look up like, oh, can you pay to have your Glassdoor reviews removed? And you'll find like, yeah, people say like, yes, you can. I don't know how you do it. Like I personally don't. It's probably a conspiracy, which I can't get into. But at the same time, I'm gonna sit here and say like, yeah, nothing really surprises me anymore. People can make all kinds of things happen, especially if they have money. Maybe there's like something you could pay to have your reviews removed or something. But it's a bad practice. Yeah, it's a whatever this company is. Yeah, it sounds terrible, and I'm surprised that this poster didn't even name the company. Because if all this is true, it sounds really bad, and you should probably stay away. So yeah, that's it for this post. It's a wild one, like Glassdoor removing reviews. Maybe it's the employer, who knows? But your guess is good as mine. So just wanted to talk about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.